Hi, friends. Welcome back to Balance and Memory, where each week we focus on improving a different aspect of our balance and continue to exercise our mind and memory. My name is Eden, and this week's focus is on dynamic flexibility and range of motion, all important for our balance, fall prevention, and mobility. For this class, we will be using an ordinary belt. So when you're ready, grab a stable and sturdy chair, your belt, have a pen and paper handy, and meet me in the seated warm-up. Before we begin our seated warm-up, please remember to modify or skip anything that doesn't feel good. Go at your own pace and always follow your doctor's instructions. If you feel any unusual symptoms, please stop immediately and seek medical care. Go at your own pace and do the best that you can for today. Let's start our seated warm-up by sitting up tall towards the front edge of our chair. Feel your feet flat onto the floor. And with that good posture, we're engaging through our core muscles, the front, the sides, and the back to help support the upright position of the spine. Shoulders drop back and down over the hips. And let's pull the head back so it's about over the tailbone, bottom of the chin, parallel to the floor. Let's start with our seated marches. Option 1 is you can lift the heels, alternate the lifting of the heels. Option 2, if you want a little bit more, then you can lift the feet completely off of the floor. It doesn't have to be too high, just something that feels good, something where you can still maintain that upright posture, that upright seated position. And let's start to slowly warm up through the legs, the ankles, maybe even the feet and the toes, hip flexors, lots going on just with our marching of the feet. And we always want to make sure that the joints are happy. So anytime the joints or any other part of your body becomes unhappy, please modify, back off, or even skip. Let's set those feet down onto the floor. Let's go into our shoulder circles. Draw the shoulders forward, up, and back. So find the range of motion for your shoulders, especially if you've had any injuries or any discomfort with the shoulders. Find something that feels good. So the size of the circles is up to you. Let's change the direction of our shoulder circles. Draw them back, up, and forward as we start to warm up through the chest, the arms, the shoulders, and the upper back. And also we're loosening things up. And then relax those shoulders down. Start to stretch one leg forward towards straight-ish. You can keep the heel down or you can lift the foot completely off as we lift the toes and then point. And let's lift and point one last time. Now let's start that slow circle of the foot, seeing how the ankle's doing for today. Slowly warm up the ankle and then change the direction of that foot circle. You also feel some work happening in the thigh, especially if the foot is lifted off of the floor. Let's move over to the other side. Opposite leg straightens. Let's lift the toes. Heel can stay down or heel can lift. And then let's point and lift and point one last time. Now let's slowly circle that foot, seeing how everything's on this side. And then change the direction of that foot circle. Remember to keep that core engaged so we can maintain that upright seated position. Let's place the foot down, still sitting up tall. Draw the arms out to the side. The height of the arms is up to you. If you do have any shoulder concerns, feel free to lower the arms a little bit if that's more comfortable. Let's circle in one direction, seeing if we can focus the effort on the muscles of the upper back, but you'll feel it in the shoulders and the arms as well. Let's change the direction of our arm circles and also find a comfortable and smooth and deep way of breathing. Keep moving those shoulders down and then place the hands onto the thighs. Let's move into our spinal warm-up. Shoulders back, chest forward, comfortable arch in the spine. And then go ahead and round through the spine. Maybe drop the chin down to a comfortable point. 2 more times, shoulders back, chest forward. And then go ahead and round. And then one last time, hands are on the thighs for support if you need it. Let's return to that tall way of sitting. Let's move to our second spinal movement, side bends, fingertips on the shoulders, easy side stretch to one side. And then let's come up and then over to the other side. Gentle side bends 2 more times on each side. You might feel nice stretching along the side waist and a little bit of work along the side waist as well. And just going to a point that feels good. And then let's come back to that upright seated position. Relax those shoulders down. Head is in neutral. And then let's slowly turn the head in one direction. So find an easy stretch for the neck. Just looking to a point of comfort. Taking a couple deep, nice rounds of breath here. And then slowly draw the head through center over to the other side. Just as you're casually looking over to one side. Keep those shoulders pointing forward so we're not twisting through the spine just yet, just a stretch for the neck. And then draw the head through center. Now let's come into more of a spinal twist. So head, shoulders, and chest turn to a comfortable point. Keep that head above the tailbone as best as you can. Bottom of the chin parallel to the floor. Lower half of the body stays still, knees pointing forward. And then slowly draw yourself back through center over to the other side. Head, shoulders, and chest twist to a comfortable point. Something that feels good. Something where you can breathe deeply and smoothly. And then draw yourself back to center. Let's cross the arms over the chest, fingertips. Pull the shoulders down. Hinge forward at the hips. Maintain that strong flat back as you lean forward any amount. And then come back to center. Lean it back just until you feel the work of those abdominals, the front part of the core. Let's come back to center. Hinge forward at the hips. Through center and lean it back. And then one last time. Hinge it forward. And then up through center and lean it back. Come back to center, draw the arms out to the side, move the shoulders down. Let's slide over to one side. This is if you're reaching to grab something. Come to center, slide it over to the other side. Try to keep the arms, if the arms are at the shoulder height, and keep the shoulders parallel as best as you can to the floor so that you can really feel the work of the side waist. Last time on this side. Let's come back to center, hands onto the thighs, draw the chest forward, a few circles of the upper half of the body over the lower. Remember, the size of the circle is up to you, something that feels good, that feels like a warm-up, maybe a little stretch. Change the direction of your circles, your upper half of the body circles or your spinal circles. And then when you come forward, press your way back to upright. Hands alongside the shoulders, elbows relax down, shoulder blades squeeze. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other without lifting the shoulders. Pause, and then go ahead and release. Let's do that 2 more times. Shoulder blades squeeze to your comfortable point, just so you feel those muscles of the back working, and release. And then one last time, shoulder blades squeeze, also a nice stretch for the chest, and then go ahead and release and shake it out. Our final movement is our sit to stands of up to 5 times. Option 1, if you'd prefer to stay seated, separate the feet a little bit wider than the hips. Have that nice upright seated position, hinge forward at the hips, press into the heels as if you're going to stand up, but stay in your chair. Squeeze the muscles of the legs and the glutes, hold, and then come back to that neutral seated position. Option 2, only if this is safe and good for you to come all the way up to a standing position. We want to make sure the knees don't go past the toes and they always track towards the center of the toes. Let's slowly hinge forward, press into the heels, rise on up. And then to come down, hinge forward at the hips, draw your bottom back behind you, bend those knees, hands reach back for the chair, make sure those knees don't go past the toes and they track towards the center of the toes. So up to 5 times of whichever option works best for your body for today. And we're moving in a slow and controlled manner. So if you'd like to do more than 5, you're welcome to do so as long as you're moving in that slow, controlled manner. If you'd prefer to do less than 5, that's fine too. I'm going to do one more. So find what works best for your body. And then let's slowly come back down. All right, so we're all warmed up, ready to go for this week's focus, which is dynamic flexibility and range of motion. Our flexibility and range of motion go hand in hand and are important for our balance, for fall prevention, and mobility. Injuries, a sedentary lifestyle, and even age can limit these 2 areas, so it is important to keep working on maintaining or even increasing our range of motion and flexibility as long as we do so safely. If you've had any injuries or any discomfort in the joints, please always follow your doctor's instructions. Never go to a point of pain and do only what is safe and comfortable for your body. For some of these exercises, we will need just an ordinary belt, so have a belt handy. And we'll get started with some seated movements first. I'm just going to place my belt off to the side. So the first set of exercises we will do is for our shoulders, for our shoulder joints especially. So remember, if you do have any discomfort or any previous injuries, please modify or even skip if you need to. Never be in a point of pain. We'll start with option 1, which is to put the fingertips onto the shoulders. And from here, we'll slowly draw the elbow forward, up, and back to your comfortable point. So if that means your circle is very small, then that means your circle is small, and that's fine. So find what works best for you that feels good. So we're moving in a slow and controlled manner, finding the range of motion that feels good for your shoulder. If it is safe for you to have the entire arm circle, you can. But once again, find what works best for your body and always move in that slow way to make sure we don't go to a point of pain. Let's change the direction of our circles. So remember, option 1 is to keep those fingertips on the shoulder. So working on our range of motion, but also our flexibility in the shoulder joints. Not too much twisting happening in the upper half of the body so that we can really focus on the shoulder. And like I said before, only if it's comfortable for you to straighten the arm, then go ahead and straighten it. But find what works best for your body and keep that shoulder down. Let's move over to the other side. Fingertips on the shoulder to start, and then start finding your size of circle, which might be a little bit different from that first side. So my lucky shoulder is my right shoulder. So my left shoulder feels a little bit more open, but find the size of circle that works best for you. Let's change the direction of that circle. So moving really slowly. And if it is okay or good, if it feels good to straighten the arm out, go ahead and do so. But if it feels more comfortable and you can find a better range of motion with those fingertips on the shoulder, then go ahead and keep it there. All right. And then let's relax that arm down, shake it out. Let's draw the arms out to the side. So these are dynamic movements to help with our range of motion and our flexibility. So we're not coming into any static holds. So let's draw those arms out. Find a nice, easy stretch for the chest and the front of the shoulders, and then give yourself a hug. And then we'll open it out. Give yourself a hug, but cross the opposite arm on top. So maintain that good core work where we're sitting up nice and tall as we just go with alternate the crossing of the arm on top. And remember, find that range of motion that feels good. So we're stretching out through the front of the body when we open the arms, stretching out through the back of the body when we close the arms, and also getting some range of motion for the shoulders as well. Let's do one more time on each side. You might feel a little warmth, a little heat develop, and that's fine as long as that feels good to your body. And then we'll draw those arms out, relax them, shake it out. Now we're going to grab our belt. So find your belt, and we'll start by having the belt in the hands. So the belt will be, or the hands will be, you can start with a little bit wider than shoulder width distance apart. Draw the belt in front. We'll have the palms facing down. Move the shoulders down. Actively draw those shoulders down. So engage through the muscles of the upper back. And then find the height of the arms that works best for your body. Maybe you're staying with the arms forward and that's fine. Or maybe you're starting to draw this belt up towards the ceiling, but move those shoulders down. You can have a soft bend in the elbows. The higher the arms is, the more you have to engage through the core to maintain that neutral position of the spine. So find what works best for you. Get a nice stretch to the chest. Remember, mild sensation, no pain. And then from here, we'll gently come into a side bend. And then come up and over to the other side. Not too deep of a side bend. It's just very little movement. So even if you have your arms forward, you're still coming into that side bend. You might notice that one arm will lift a little bit higher than the other. So find what works best for your body. Move those shoulders down Breathe deeply. Remember, there is no pain in these movements, so find what works best for your body. We're getting some flexibility, some range of motion, and you'll also feel a little bit of heat building into the body. Let's come back to center, slowly release the belt all the way down. And then I'm going to just place the belt on the back of my chair. So it is there when we come into our standing movements. Let's get some flexibility and range of motion for the head and the neck. So we're sitting up tall, engaging through those core muscles, shoulders over the hips, head pulled back over the tailbone, bottom of the chin parallel to the floor. We'll slowly turn the head to one direction, nice easy stretch just to your point of mild sensation, and then slowly draw the head through center and over to the other side, to your point of comfort. Slowly draw the head through center. Let's just do 2 more times on each side. If you start to feel a little bit dizzy, you can keep your eyes pointing forward and just have the head turning. But if it's okay to turn the eyes, you can as well. And if you're able to increase your range of motion in the head, in the neck, if you can do that comfortably, then you can go deeper into a head turn. But remember, if you've had any neck concerns, feel free to modify or even skip. Nice. And then draw the head back to center. All right. And then our last seated flexibility and range of motion movement will be to separate the feet wider than the hips, and let's have the hands onto the thighs, elbows in. We're sitting up tall to start, and then little hinge forward at the hips. Try to maintain that strong flat back. And I'm going to start to straighten one arm and do a little twist. And you might even feel a little stretching sensation on the inner legs. So I'm getting a little twist here, looking to a comfortable point back behind, and then I'm coming back up to that upright seated position through center and over to the other side. Little hinge forward, and then press into the opposite hand to get a stretch of the inner leg and a little twist. And then come back to center upright. Hinge forward, little twist on one side, come back up, and then over to the other side. Hinge forward, little twist, and then come back up. One more time on each side. Hinge forward, little twist, come back up, and then over to the other side. Hinge forward, strong flat back, little twist, and then come back up. And then return to that comfortable way of sitting. All right. We'll do another set of exercises. So if you'd like, you can stay seated in your chair and do as much of the exercise as you can from a seated position. If you would like to come up to a standing position and do the exercises that focus more on our legs, then please carefully come to a standing position behind your chair, and I will meet you there. For our standing movements, chair is here for support. So we're not working on our balance just yet. So feel free to keep a hand on the chair the whole time to make sure you stay safe and in an upright position. So for this first exercise, we're going to use our handy dandy belt. And if you do feel that the balance is a little bit compromised, you can stand kind of with your legs touching the chair, not pushing the chair, but just touching it so you get a little bit support for the balance, since we will be drawing our arms back behind us. So let's draw the belt back behind us. I'm going to turn the palms to face forward, and I'll start by separating the hands about shoulder width distance apart. Remember to do only what is safe, pain-free, and comfortable for your body. So let's find that tall way of standing. We're engaging through those core muscles, shoulders over the hips, head pulled back over the tailbone. And then from here, I'm going to start to put a little energy between the hands. So I'm pulling the belt relatively tight, but my hands are somewhat loose. And then I'll slowly, without lifting the shoulders, I'll slowly lift the arms to a comfortable height. So remember, if you do have any shoulder concerns, limit the height of the arms lifting, or you can also separate the hands a little bit wider than the shoulders. So you can play with the distance between the hands to suit your body. So I'm going to slowly lift to a easy stretch and then slowly release back down. So let's pulse through that a few more times. Lifting the arms are relatively straight. which means we're not locking out the elbows. You can maintain a micro bend in those elbows as we lift to a comfortable point and slowly release. Let's do that 2 more times. You'll feel a stretch in the chest, stretch in the front of the shoulders, and also work on our range of motion for our arms back behind us. And then go ahead and release and shake it out. So that'll be the only exercise we will use with the belt. So go ahead and place it back onto the seat of the chair. Now let's work on the flexibility and range of motion for our lower half of the body. I'm going to place my hands onto the chair. Let's separate our feet about hip bone distance apart and then step the left foot back. Let's try to have all 10 toes pointing as forward as you can, and then start to bend that front knee, the right knee, so it stacks atop the ankle and tracks towards the direction of the center of the toes. And I'm going to step my back foot a little bit further back, but find the distance between the feet that works best for you. You might even feel that your back heel is a little bit lifted, so mild sensation of a stretch. So I'm bending that front knee to stack and track. That'll be the maximum distance that the knee will bend. We don't want the knee to go past the ankle. You'll already feel a stretch along the back of that back leg. And then I'm just going to slowly straighten that front leg and a little lift of that back heel. And then rebend, making sure that front knee doesn't go past the ankle and tracks toward the center of the toes. And then straighten and lift. Rebend. And I'm watching my knee to make sure it's tracking towards the center of the toes. Straighten and lift. Let's do 2 more times. So we want to make sure that knee is in that proper alignment. That's for knee joint safety. And then last time, you'll feel a stretch on the front of that back leg as well. And then go ahead and rebend. We're going to keep this position. If you'd like, you can walk your back foot a little bit forward, a few inches forward. We're going to keep the lower half of the body steady and stable. Nice stretch for that back leg, a little bit work for that front leg. And then we'll start with the upright position of the spine, shoulders over the hips. We're coming into a little twist here. So from here, we'll turn the head, the shoulders, and the chest a little bit to the right. This right arm can just dangle down, or you can keep the hand onto the hip and then come back to center. Let's do that 2 more times. Little twist just of the upper half of the body, lower half of the body stays nice and stable. And 1 more time. And then come back to center. Let's step that back foot forward and let's switch over to the other side. Right foot steps back. Remember, the distance between the feet is up to you. Try to have those feet about hip bone distance apart, all 10 toes pointing as forward as is comfortable. Start to bend that front knee. So left knee, the front knee is bending, stacking over the ankle, tracking towards the center of those toes, and really feel the weight into the heel. And then the back foot, maybe the heel is lifted a little bit or maybe not. So find what works best for you. You'll feel a stretch on that back front thigh and the back of the back leg. And then let's start to straighten the front leg, lift the back heel, and then go ahead and release it back down, making sure that front knee bends towards the direction of the center of the toes, or is pointing towards the direction of the center of toes. Lift and rebend. So knee doesn't go past the ankle. Lift and release. You might hear the movement of my back foot. Lift and release. And 1 more time, we'll lift and then go ahead and release. Nice. Let's walk that back foot forward a little bit so you can settle the heel down. And then still maintaining that bend in that front knee. We're standing up tall. Let's come into that twist. We'll slowly, just the head, the shoulders, and the chest turn to the left. You can have the hand on the hip if you'd like, and then come back to center. So bottom half of the body stays nice, still, and stable. And then let's turn and come back. And one last time, we'll turn and then come back. And then slowly make your way back to right behind the chair. Let's go with keeping that right foot where it is. Step the left foot back. Now we're just going to step the left foot back, maybe a foot or plus or minus a few inches. Both legs will be relatively straight. The heels of the feet are about hip bone distance apart, and the back toes can angle just slightly out to the side. Keeping both legs straight, and let's turn on those thighs. And we're standing up tall. And then from here, with that strong flat back, we're hinging forward at the hips. Hands are on the chair for a little bit of support, just until you feel your mild sensation of a stretch. And then you can use some work with the hands to press your way up, but you'll also be using the strength of your strong flat back. So we're hinging forward just a little bit and then coming back up. We're hinging forward, maintain that strong flat back, maintain that strong core, and coming up. Let's do 2 more times. We'll hinge it forward, come back up, and then last time, hinge it forward, and then come back up. Have a soft bend in that front leg so you can stand right behind the chair again. Let's move over to the other side. Step the right foot back, maybe about a foot, plus or minus a few inches. Heels of the feet about hip bone distance apart. Back toes, those right toes can angle just out a little bit. Both legs relatively straight. Turn on those thighs, and then we'll start engage through the core, hinge forward at the hips. Just mild sensation, nothing more than that, and then rise back up. So these hinge forwards and then lift. So for me, it's not too deep of a hinge forward. I have some tightness in the backs of my legs. I've always had it. I think it's the way my body was built. And so it doesn't take a lot for me to feel that stretch. So this dynamic stretch, and then come back up. Nice soft bend in that front knee. Go ahead and step it forward. I'm going to turn to face you now, and I'm going to bring my chair. So I'm standing behind the chair facing you, coming into little side lunges. So go ahead and separate your feet wider than the hips. And once again, plus or minus a few inches, depending on how your body is feeling. So we're going to lunge side to side to stretch those inner legs, dynamic stretching of the inner legs, and also find the range of motion in the hip area. My toes are pointed out just slightly. To come into our side lunge, I'm going to bend both knees softly. I'm going to hinge forward at the hips, and I'm going to draw my bottom a little bit back behind me so I can make sure I'm maintaining that strong flat back and make sure my knees don't go past the toes. I'm going to shift a little bit to one side, bend one knee, and straighten the opposite leg. When I bend this knee, it doesn't go past the toes, tracks towards the center of the toes. And then I'll come back up all the way to standing, and then move over to the other side. Soft bend in the knees, hinge forward at the hips, draw my bottom back a little bit behind me, and then bend over to the opposite side. So knee doesn't go past the toes, tracks towards the center of the toes. Maintain that strong flat back as you come up, and we'll go over to the other side. So the depth of your side lunge is up to you. Thinking about maintaining that strong core, strong flat back, and you're drawing your bottom a little bit back behind you. So almost like a little bit back behind the heels. That's just making sure that the knee doesn't go past the toes. And then find a comfortable way of breathing. Let's do one more time on each side. So you're getting a stretch through the inner legs. You're also getting a stretch through the glutes and a little bit of work for those muscles as well. Nice, warming it up. Exercising it out. Let's come back to center, start to step those feet together, and then stand over to one side of your chair. I'm just going to slide my chair over. So let's find our range of motion for our hip joint. Remember, if you've had any surgeries or injuries, please modify or even skip, and I'll give you a few options. So we'll stand predominantly on one leg, hand on the chair the whole time. Let's lift the heel. So for here, you can start by almost like you're drawing a circle on the floor, and depending on the type of your surface of the floor, you might have to lift the foot up a little bit. If the hips feel good and it is safe and comfortable for you to go bigger, then you can go a little bit bigger, or you can even lift the foot completely off the floor and find your range of motion for your hip joint. But once again, do only what is safe and comfortable for your body. Nice. And you'll feel some work happening in this outer leg as well. Let's change the direction of our circles. So remember, if you need to keep those toes down and make small circles, that's fine too. So find what works best for your body. Maintaining and even increasing our range of motion and flexibility is a slow process. So you do need a lot of patience, and we never want to force anything. All right, that standing leg is getting some good work. So let's move over to the other side. I'm just going to slide my chair over. Stand up tall, good posture. Start maybe keeping the toes down onto the floor. If it is safe and okay and feels good to go bigger, then go ahead and increase the size of the circle. Or if you want even more and it is safe for you to do so, then maybe you're lifting the foot completely off the floor and really feeling how the hip's doing. So sometimes we come into these movements, into the exercises, and kind of just do them without putting any mental effort into where we should be feeling. Let's change the direction of our circles. So really put your mind to your hip area so you can feel how the muscles are doing, how the joints doing, how everything's doing in there. And that way we can stay in a safe range of motion, safe movement pattern as well. All right. Okay, standing leg getting a lot of work, so let's go ahead and release down and shake it out. For our balance drills, the chair is here for support if you need it. Please feel free to keep a hand on the chair the entire time if your balance feels challenged for today. Let's start with our feet as close together as is comfortable. Let's have that good posture. And then up to you. You can relax those arms down by the side only if it's safe and comfortable for you to do so, or you can keep a finger or even a hand onto the chair. So we're just looking for those wiggles and wobbles. We want to make sure we stay safe and upright. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can slowly turn the head to one direction. And then you can slowly turn the head through center and over to the other side. So just changing our visual field can challenge our balance, allowing the body to work to find its way to stay upright. Let's draw the head back to center, hand down. Our second stage is to step one foot forward of the other. You can start with a space between the feet. If you would like to go a little bit more and it is safe for you to do so, you can come into a tandem stance with all 10 toes pointing forward, heel to toe. Have that soft bend in the knees. Make sure you have that good posture, engage those core muscles, and then find what works best for you. I'm going to keep a finger on the chair just for a little support. I already feel those wiggles and wobbles in the ankles. Legs are working strong. And then if you'd like to challenge your balance a little bit more, you can slowly turn the head to one direction. Make sure you're breathing deeply and smoothly as best as you can. If you did turn the head to one side, turn it over to the other side. So these are static balance drills or standard balance drills that if you can do every day, please do so. Let's draw the head through center, hand down, step it out. Shake it out if you need to. Over to the other side. Opposite foot steps forward, maybe a space between the feet, or maybe you're moving a little bit closer to heel toe. Balance beam or tightrope stance. And then finding your balance on this side, which might be a little bit different. And if you'd like to challenge yourself even more and it's safe to do so, then you can turn the head over to one side. We got a lot of wiggles and wobbles on this side. And then draw the head through center over to the other side. And even though I'm experiencing all these wiggles and wobbles, I'm just allowing the ankles and the legs to do what it needs to do to stay upright. And then draw the head through center, hand down, step it out. Our third stage is to stand predominantly on one leg. So let's lift one heel, come onto the tippy toes. Maybe you're working on your balance here. If you want a little bit more, then you can stand completely on just one leg, knowing at any time you can place the toes down or the hand down. And I can feel the entire standing leg working. Let's maintain that good posture. And then softly down over to the other side. Maybe you're staying with the toes down. Maybe you're lifting the foot completely off of the floor. So up to you. So find what works best for your body. Ooh, a little bit more wavering on this side for me. And then gently release down. Let's draw the chair in front of us, separate the feet a little bit wider than the hips so we can move into our lateral balance, our side to side balance. So let's shift the weight over to one side. So heel can lift. You can lift the foot or you can lift the leg a little bit higher to get some strength work as well. And then soft bend through both knees, landing down and swinging over to the other side. So remember, you're welcome to keep a hand on the chair the whole time or just hover the hand. pausing when you come to the top, just so we get a little extra work for the balance. One last time on each side. Remember, the slower and longer you hold, the more challenging it will be for the balance, but also more rewarding. Let's come back to center. Let's stand to the side of the chair for our last balance challenge, our slow motion marches. So stand up tall. Let's lift the thigh to a comfortable height. Remember, you can keep the toes down. If you are lifting the foot, then we'll lift the toes as well. Thigh up to the height of the hip. And then release down over to the other side. Pausing to find your balance. If you want to go a little bit more and it is safe for you to do so, opposite arm to leg lifts. And one more time on each side. Kind of think of myself in a slow motion movie. But slow motion also allows the body, gives it time to find its way to balance. And then go ahead, release and shake it out. All right, great job, everyone. Let's now carefully have a seat in our chair so we can do some good stretches. All right, so now let's do some holds in our stretching to really focus on the elongation of the muscles. Let's start by swiveling over to one side. Sitting predominantly on the leg that is closest to the back of the chair, hand on the back of the chair for support, and we'll slowly start to lower this front knee down. Remember, keep those joints happy and only go to a point of mild sensation where the stretch feels good. So up to you how far back that back foot will slide. Remember, we don't want to push it. We also want to make sure we maintain that upright position of the spine. So we're not overarching through the spine. Engage through those core muscles and find the stretch that works best for your body on this front thigh, front hip flexor. Maybe stay here. If you'd like to add a tiny twist, you can turn the head and the shoulders towards the back of the chair, only if that feels good. Take a few more nice rounds of breath here. See if you can maybe even deepen the breath as long as you can do so comfortably. This is a nice opening here. So if you do a lot of sitting, or even if you're really active, this should feel like a really nice stretch for the front of the leg. If you twisted, let's slowly untwist first. Draw that back knee to meet the front knee to meet the back, and then let's switch over to the other side. So we're sitting predominantly on the leg that is closest to the back of the chair. Arm is on the chair for support. Make sure you maintain that upright position, that upright posture, and let's slowly release that knee down, even a little bit further back, depending on your body. On this side, you can flatten the top of the foot into the floor. That's a nice stretch for the ankle, or if it's more comfortable, you can keep those toes curled under. So find what works best for your body. And if you like to add that little twist, head, shoulders, and the chest, just a few degrees towards the back of the chair. So it doesn't have to be too deep, something that feels good. You might feel a nice stretch for the lower back and the sideways as well. And let's take a couple deep rounds of breath here. Try to keep the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor. All right. Let's slowly untwist first and use our arm to draw that front knee to meet the back. And then let's swivel to face forward. Let's sit towards the front edge of the chair, separate the feet hip bone distance or a tiny bit wider. Start to straighten one leg, keep the heel down, lift the toes up. You can have a soft bend in that straightened leg like I do. Hands on the opposite thigh. Sit up tall, hinge it forward. So we're not rounding through the spine, or we're minimizing the rounding of the spine, trying to keep that lift in the chest. So when you do this, just a tiny bit of hinge forward can really accentuate the stretch underneath the leg. So it doesn't take a lot to get that nice stretch. We're not looking to round towards this, round through the spine. We're using our hands also to help with that lift of the chest. And we're taking a few rounds of breath here. Nice. To come out, let's press into their hands, upright, You can use your arm to rebend, and let's go over to the other side. Slide the opposite foot forward, heel down, toes up, hands on the opposite thigh. Sit up tall, and then maintain that strong flat back as you hinge it any amount until you feel, hinge it forward any amount until you feel your mild sensation of a stretch. For me, especially for my right leg, I'm right leg dominant, right side dominant. So the right side of my body tends to be a little bit more tight. So it really doesn't take a lot for me to feel that stretch underneath my leg here. And take a few more rounds of breath here. When I was maybe like 5 or 6, I was able to do the splits like out to the side, but haven't been able to do that since. So I'm working on it. It might be a lifelong goal. Let's press our way back up, rebend that knee. Let's come into our hip opener. Option 1, if you have any concerns with the joint, separate the feet a little bit wider than the hips, slide 1 foot forward. Come on to the forearms. This is nice. Now we're rounding through the spine a little bit just to feel a nice stretch to the back of the body and the buttocks. Option 2, only if this is safe for you to come into and would feel good and it's easy to come into. Cross the ankle over the thigh above the knee. Flex through the foot, so draw the toes up to the knee. And maybe here, then you can stay upright or you can round a little bit with the weight of the upper half of the body translating through the arms into the leg that is in contact with the floor, so not on the floating knee. And we'll take a few rounds of breath here. So I want to make sure that stretch feels good, mild sensation on the buttock, the outer hip, maybe the lower back as well. And then let's slowly press up, gently release over to the other side. Option 1, slide the opposite foot forward and relax for it. Option 2, only if this is safe and feels good and is easy to come into, cross the ankle over the thigh above the knee, flex through the foot. Allow that outer knee to relax on its own and maybe fold forward or maybe sit upright. So find the depth of your stretch that feels good. And then find those deep rounds of breath. So when we breathe deeply, when we're stretching, that can signal to the body, to the nervous system to relax, that it's okay to be in this stretch. So it can signal to our body to relax a little bit more, to deepen the stretch if that is safe for your body to do so. All right, let's go ahead and press our way up. Return to that tall way of sitting. Open up the arms. We did this in our dynamic flexibility portion. Let's give ourselves a hug, but this time we're going to hold the hug. Reach for the shoulder blades, relax shoulders and elbows down. Nice stretch along the back of the body if it is safe for you to do so and it would feel good. You can drop the chin down towards the chest and stretch the back of the neck. Holding here. Let's slowly upright the head, open the arms, nice stretch for the chest, opposite arm on top, reach, relax, and maybe drop the chin down towards the chest. And sometimes for me personally, it's helpful if I hear my breath. So you have probably have heard me breathing into the microphone. But for me, that sound of the breath, it's kind of soothing, relaxing. It's almost like the gentle sound of somebody snoring that kind of relaxes me and makes me sleepy sometimes. Let's lift the head, open up the arms, and then hands onto the thighs. Still sitting up tall with that good posture. Let's, only if this is safe for you to do so, lean the head over to one side and make any little adjustment to find the stretch along the neck, the base of the neck that feels good to your body. And then just hold here. Also, if I can hear my breath, then I know I'm not holding my breath. So that's another benefit of making your breath a little bit louder. Let's slowly upright the head over to the other side. But remember, if for some reason on this side doesn't feel good, then feel free to back off, modify, or even skip. And any little micro adjustment to get that stretch that you need, I can really feel a nice release along the side of the neck, base of the neck. All right, let's slowly upright the head, lean it back into our chair. One more stretch for the chest. So leaning back to a comfortable point, maybe a little comfortable arch in the spine. Maybe the arms are out to the side or down. For some reason, the stretch always makes me yawn. It's like the first thing in the morning when you're stretching. All right. And then when you're ready, go ahead and return to a relaxed seated position in your chair. All right. Whew, so we did some dynamic flexibility and range of motion work. We worked on our balance. We got some good static stretching in. Let's give our bodies a break and move to exercise our mind and memory.
This challenge is called Alphabet Challenge, helpful for memory and quick thinking. You will have 20 seconds to list words in the following categories that start with the provided letter. A bar timer will be at the bottom indicating how much time is remaining. Ready? Let's begin. Come up with beverages starting with B. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with brand names starting with B. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with stores starting with B. Here are a few answers. Come up with nightlife activities starting with B. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with breakfast food starting with B. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with desserts starting with B. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with salty things starting with S. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with things that lower blood pressure starting with M. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with outdoor activities starting with C. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with things to wear starting with D. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with book titles starting with T. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with painful things starting with H. Here are a few answers. Come up with things that emit light starting with S. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with things that are sweet, starting with C. Time. Here are a few answers. Come up with things that you put in water, starting with D. Here are a few answers. Nice job! Come up with different answers each time you repeat the challenge.
We exercised our body, we exercised our mind and memory. So now let's get some good rest with a few minutes of our mindful relaxation. We rest our bodies by just relaxing, sitting back into your chair. You can wiggle it out if you need to, have your feet flat onto the floor. And we'll rest our minds by anchoring or focusing our mind on a single thing, which can be your breath or the sound of the wind chimes that I will be playing. When we anchor our mind on a single thing, we can reduce the chance of it wandering away. But if your mind does wander away, bring it back to either your breath or the sound of the wind chimes. We're not trying to block out any thoughts or emotions that come up. We're just trying to do the best that we can to anchor our mind on either our breath or the sound of the wind chimes. Let's start by closing the eyes or having a soft gaze down towards the floor. And we'll first feel our feet resting in our shoes or resting on the floor. Feel your bottom and your back resting in the chair. Feel your shoulders and your jaw relax. Feel your face soften. And feel that space between your eyebrows begin to lengthen. And then bring your mind either to your breath or the sound of the wind chimes. And anytime your mind wanders away, recognize it has wandered and bring it back to your breath or the wind chimes as many times as this takes over the next 3 minutes. And slowly bring your mind back to your feet, resting on the floor. Feel your bottom and your back resting in the chair. And think of something in your life that you are grateful for. And as you inhale, feel that gratitude come over your mind and body. And as you exhale, feel your body relax a little bit more. Take 2 more rounds of breath this way as you begin to deepen your breath. And then you can slowly wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, stretch the arms. And as you're ready, please open the eyes. All right, everyone. Fabulous job today. Hope you feel rested and rejuvenated. Remember to repeat the video a few more times during the week to further work on our flexibility, range of motion, balance, and exercise our mind and memory. You can view the video online at any time that is convenient to you, and a new video with new exercises will be available on Monday. So till then, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.